We are live. How's it going, Ryan?
It's going well, Bryce. How are you?
Pretty good. I think this is week 5 of the podcast.
This
Crazy, we're
is.
already a little more than a month in.
We're still working on a jingle. We'll get there.
Yeah, we still need to get a song down. So if
Yeah.
anyone's trying to make one, I'll pay you for
Please
it.
hit us
Get
up.
something
Hit us
like
up.
"Solve for Why." That's
Yeah,
dope.
yeah. We need something fun to get this thing started. So that's always
But
good.
yeah, so today we're going to be discussing donk betting, and then we're bringing in a local fish/grinder, Ben Franks. But yeah, so we've been playing in a club, and we've been seeing a lot of donk betting. So in case
Yes.
you don't know what donk betting is, it's when you lead out of position when you aren't the pre-flop aggressor. So for example, if Ryan is under the gun and raises to $3, and I call no,
The
wait,
big
never
blind.
mind. I'm crazy. If I'm the big blind and I raise
Call
to
my open.
$3 and he calls in position, yeah, he. Oh my gosh, I can't even do this.
You had it right the first
I had
time.
it right the first time. Okay, so if he raises me, he's in position, and
Yep.
I bet the flop out of position. That's
Right.
a donk bet, and it's typically a small sizing. Wow, I'm struggling today.
That was good. We got
So,
there. We got there.
We've been seeing a lot of donk betting in our club. What do you make of that, Ryan?
It. I feel like it's really, it's hard. It's weird when people do it to you, especially when you are the pre-flop aggressor, because and especially when you're the pre-flop aggressor and you don't hit the flop and you're now either heads up or three-handed and you're thinking you might want to semi-bluff at a flop and somebody leads into you. It's always a weird feeling because it's not something that you're used to like reacting
It's not
to.
even semi bluffing. Like if it hits your range, like if I have king jack suited, king queen
Right.
suited, people are leading into ace seven deuce rainbow.
Right,
It's just
right.
baffling, and I can just get away from it. Like they'll even lead like 2/3 pot. They just don't even understand that. Like
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's thing is donk betting. I think just in general makes you lose value because if you're donk betting as a bluff, you're a madman, and if you're donk betting for value, you're gonna lose value because hands and people
very
who,
counterintuitive,
like us
absolutely.
who are generally more aggressive post flop, like we're gonna bet. Just check to
Yeah.
us. We'll bet it
Yeah.
for you. You can raise,
Like,
you can do whatever you want, but let us
they
act.
lose so much money because
Right.
I feel like I especially see bet a higher frequency of time because people tend to play fairly passive. I mean, obviously
Correct.
it's very, very player dependent.
Yep.
But I see bet such a high frequency when it hits my range, and I just fold. They're just giving me such a easy decision.
Right,
It's
right. That's the
ridiculous.
problem.
But yeah, it's definitely nice to be playing against these players who just let you off the hook so easy.
Yeah, that's the point. Is like the problem with donk betting is that you're it's hard to read sometimes, but depending on the player. Like if I
Yeah.
know that you're type passive and then all of a sudden you donk lead into me, I'm gonna think that that's that you have a strong hand.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I think
if
it
you're
also
Bryce,
is.
I don't believe you.
That's fair. I think it's also very dependent on obviously the texture of the board, and if
Yep.
you're multi-way. Like if you're four-way and
somebody
the
bets,
flop
that's so
comes,
strong.
If the flop comes ace king deuce and you
Yep.
have a set of deuces, you don't need to lead. You're very confident four-way. Someone has an ace, especially if someone leads pre. But if the flop is something like 7, 9, 10, two spades, and you have like 8 jack, like you might want to protect that hand. So in some scenarios, I can see betting, but I donk bet at such a 5% of the time, maybe.
Right, right.
And some of these guys are doing it at 25 to 40% of the time, like just
Yeah.
astronomically high numbers that just don't make sense.
And it blows my mind a lot of the time that they do it multi-way. Like heads
Oh,
up, I can
it's-
kind of get to like, mix it up or something or to
Yeah,
like,
I
try to
mean-
confuse your opponent. But like if you're going to donk lead out into 4 people who call the pre-flop raise on a wet or dry board, it's just weird.
Absolutely. Yeah, it just makes no sense. But yeah, so I think you guys should really think about trying to avoid donk betting. There are some situations in which it makes sense.
Right.
But the vast majority of time, just check to the aggressor. They're gonna
Right.
bet at least 55 to 60% of the time if they know what they're doing. So yeah, especially flop.
Yeah, especially flop.
Yeah. So we're gonna bring in Ben Franks. He lives near me, and he's a local MGM National Harbor grinder, and he's also been playing in our online club. So happy to have you, Ben, and welcome to the stream.
Wow.
Hey, I feel personally attacked, first of all, because I feel like I'm the one that this conversation is about.
You're absolutely not the only one doing it, but definitely interested to hear your thoughts if you want to touch on your
Chime
dog
in,
petting real
please
quick.
let us know.
It depends. It's player dependent, honestly, and obviously board texture. And if it's something I can bluff at, it depends. These people never fold. So
Yeah, they do not like folding. Obviously, it depends on the person, but people
Right.
call me with fourth pair on the wettest boards imaginable. It's crazy. So Ben, we're just gonna ask you some background questions so the viewers can get a little information about you. So,
All right.
where are you from?
Woodbridge,
easy
Virginia.
Okay, yeah,
Easy.
it's about 45 minutes away from me ish. So, how'd you get started in poker?
Started playing when I was, a kid playing pennies with my mom and my grandfather. Played in the neighborhood, played a lot of card games. Used to play like spades, tonk, hearts, all that.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah. We would be up till like 8 in the morning. We're like
Playing
15.
spades? Oh my
Playing
gosh, that's awesome.
spades,
I wish my
wow.
family stayed up that late.
Hearts. No, these are just friends from the neighborhood.
Oh, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah. But we wouldn't even be playing with money, or it'd be like $1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then get older, you play a little bit more, and then the DGen side comes out, and then you just never stop. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, it just snowballs.
Wow.
So I guess the next question is, I know I've talked about it a little bit both on my Instagram stories as well as on the podcast, but how would you describe the action at MGM National Harbor?
Oh man, it's a fishbowl. Well, it depends. There's a lot of good players, but there's this area has a lot of money. So
Yeah.
regardless, you'll see a lot of the same people, but you'll also always see like a new player pool, drunk people on Fridays,
Yeah,
on Thursdays,
weekend
Saturdays.
games are
It's
crazy.
new. The casino
Yeah,
is
so it's
very new.
relatively new. It's a few
Yeah.
years old. So
Yeah.
I know Chase Bianchi, don't know if I'm botching his name,
Right.
like moved to Maryland for the sole purpose and was very profitable. And he actually recently made the move to Boston because Encore opened. And he very much just chases the action, and it's worked for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are some solid grinders, but for the most part, I think the 1-3 game just plays insane. It plays like a 2-5 game.
Well, max is 500, so the stacks get big. I've seen people with 5K in front of them. It just
Oh
blows
yeah,
my
me
mind.
too.
how does
I'm
this
glad
happen?
someone can vouch for that. It's crazy though.
I got a question.
Alright.
How big is the poker room at MGM National Harbor?
50 something tables? How many?
50?
tables?
Yeah.
No,
See, that's the
50.
problem. I
50.
love MGM Springfield, but the poker room's much smaller. It's like 25, 30. It's,
15,
Oh,
15,
okay.
yeah, it's crazy.
Is that where you're in?
yeah, my home
Boston?
casino is MGM Springfield. Yeah, because it's close to where I work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we're gonna hit you with some rapid fire
Hey,
questions.
let's bonus round. Let's go.
Both
Right.
Poker and non-poker related. So we already asked you the first one.
Right,
So
so we can
easy
see.
one. Who is your favorite poker player?
Ooh, old school, probably Tom Dwan.
Good answer.
I don't know if that's old school.
Well, I mean, for the new people,
He looks a little scraggly now, but
Yeah.
He's
I
still
think
so
a
young.
lot of the players probably like all
There's
the
a lot of
bloggers
stress
now.
in his life.
Yeah. I ran into him in Macau a couple times.
Oh
Chopped it
yeah,
up.
I bet.
I was playing a casual
Casual.
200,000, 300,000 table, no big deal.
Yeah.
What's your
Um,
favorite poker game besides No Limit?
Besides No Limit, that's pretty much all I play. I delved into PLO5, which I'm never playing again.
It's an adventure.
But I'll see y'all there later, so it's fine.
Did you play
Oh,
any
dude.
table games at the MGM National Harbor? At all, ever?
Normally
/
I don't.
do you have a lucky number?
7, obviously.
Okay,
Oh,
I like it.
so mainstream.
Yeah,
I hate
yeah.
that answer.
But I'll play roulette in Vegas. I'll play blackjack.
If you're with your friends or something. makes
Yeah, if I'm
sense.
with I'll run into some friends at MGM and I'll play a couple of hands with them. But I'm not too big on the table games. It's
That's
just
fair.
Good. Definitely
It's-
stay
yeah.
away.
casino always wins, so most of the time there's really no edge. And at least
Right.
in poker, I've got like this much of an edge.
Hey,
Barely,
that's an edge.
but-
You just got to put in the
Yeah.
hours, my guy. All right,
Oh,
so what
I
is your
have.
No, I believe it. All right, favorite food.
Ooh, does pizza count?
Pizza counts.
Yeah,
Easy
pizza
answer.
Yeah, I'll take pizza.
Is there a particular pizza place?
All right. it's
I
not
think
rapid
it
anymore.
just
It's not
closed.
rapid fire.
Well, in New York,
It's
in
okay.
Virginia, I think
The
it
next
just
two questions are all that
closed.
matters, Bryce.
Yeah. Because of the COVID-19, so I don't think they're ever
Yeah.
going to open again. But it was called Astoria. It's like kind of in Woodbridge near Route 1 on your way to Lorden-ish.
Yeah, because I know what that is.
Yeah, well, okay, you
I've
go.
actually never heard of that restaurant.
Well, Route 1 goes all the way to Florida to New York, so you might Route 1.
Probably.
It's
You
a mom and
better, what do you
pop.
mean
You know,
probably?
it's
But-
been there for like 30 years.
I have, I think, the most serious question here. How much money would it take for you to fight current Mike Tyson? Have you seen the videos?
I saw the thumbnail, didn't see the video.
Man's coming out of
He is-
retirement.
He said that it's something about the god of war is within him, and he has told him to come back to fight.
Let me tell you this. I don't think. I mean, well, okay. First of
How
all, when
much
you
money?
say fight, is this regulated gloves referee?
I think so.
That's
Yeah,
what he
I think
wants.
He
That's
really,
what
he
he
really
wants.
wants.
It's crazy.
He wants to get like,
Probably
on a
nothing because I'd probably still get killed by him. So I don't.
Car. Yeah, so you're saying it would have to be a lot of money.
I'd do
Yeah,
it for
I
$1
mean-
million. I'd get the
Oh,
joke.
I mean, yeah.
Easy.
I mean, these
But,
guys
I
are
mean-
getting paid a ton.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends how long I got to be in the ring. Because if I got to fight
That's
him,
true.
I'm going down.
That's true. Because it's like if
He
he just has to
breathes on
knock
me,
me
I'm
out,
out.
I'll go like this and be like, all right, I'll take the concussion.
Yeah.
That's facts.
Give me my million.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
Oh, you skipped me, but who would win in a fight? 10 unarmed soldiers or a gorilla?
I'd say gorilla. I mean, depends how
Okay.
aggressive it is. Depends how
That's
aggressive.
fair. Yeah,
I'm talking like-
my college team loved to argue about this on runs. All right,
Yeah.
favorite poker hand.
Oh man, there's so many. Right now, for the past couple years, 10-7 has been my favorite.
10-7. It's got to be suited or
Orthodox.
It doesn't even have to be suited. Most of the time, I'll play it suited. If it's not, then I think about it. But 10-7, I've been hitting quads and straight flushes with it, so I was like, "This is my hand."
Dang.
So
all
we
right.
actually have players on the podcast from our club just to figure out their favorite
Yeah,
hand, so like we can be afraid on the board. So
Oh, yeah,
very
okay,
glad
yeah,
you came
yeah.
on.
Yeah, yours is pocket nines, right, Ryan?
Yes, minus pocket nines. We're gonna
What's
get there.
yours, Bryce? Aces.
No, yeah, Ace is pretty good.
What
Don't
is
really
it?
have one.
What is the biggest pot you've ever won and the biggest pot you've ever lost?
Biggest pot I ever won, I think, was probably a few months ago. I was at MGM. I was down. Oh man, it was like
he
a
got
400.
it in bad. He
It
got
was
it
a
in
400.
bad.
I got it in terrible. It was like a 400 big blind pot, right? So I think I had 12 or 1300 in front of me. I was down about 12 or 1300. I grind it back up from like either my last buy-in or third, fourth bullet, whatever. Grind it up. It's probably like 3 a.m, right? I get pocket kings in I think either I think it was I can't remember. And anyway, pocket kings against pocket aces, all in.
All in
So
pre for
all
400
in.
bigs.
400 bigs. It was stupid.
Can you describe the action there?
So
It was 8 bets.
I
Was
was
it an 8-bet shove?
I was tilted and down. I think it was a 4-bet shove on my part.
4-bet shove for 300.
Yeah.
What were the
So-
sizings? Like, was it
So-
like
so
5,
I'm
30?
trying to remember.
300, all of it?
I think I was in early position, maybe like under the gun plus 2 or something.
Raised like $15.
The table was pretty big. Somebody I think raised before me, so I raised it to like 25 or something. Somebody else I think goes on top. Then another guy goes on top for like 250, right? So anyway,
And
he's
you
I think in
jammed
the cutoff.
1200 over 250?
It was either.
What do you think he's calling you? Ace king?
No, yeah, no, I know. It was terrible. Whatever it was.
Oh, buddy.
I wish I could remember the action on the spot. I can't remember, but
Oh my god.
either I re-raised it to 250. He didn't jam on me. I jammed on him. So he snap calls. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? I'm like, I know you got aces. I'm getting up, getting ready to go home. He's like, oh, it's not over yet. King in the window on the flop,
Oh, I'm dead.
and that's all she wrote, And then
Why did he do it to himself?
yeah. What a fish,
That is so funny.
It was terrible on my part. But I was tilted. I was there like till like 3 a.m.
It happens, but nice hand.
I had him covered by like $150. So
All right, I think the rapid fire questions got a little less rapid, so I don't know. I think we could move on to the next thing.
Yeah,
Sorry,
we can wrap it up.
No,
No,
you're
that's all
fine. That
good.
was a great story. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
So we're gonna
The
scroll
biggest
down
pot loss
to.
is probably
Gotta
the same
love,
thing,
gotta love the good
so.
suck out story. You know.
Fair enough. Sadly, my loss is bigger, but my win's bigger, so it's whatever.
Yeah. I mean, my loss is probably around that too. So,
Alrighty, so
Very
I've
nice,
got your first hand in. Oh, you put your name in, Ryan, not his. I was confused there for a second.
Yeah. Well, it was the same thing. I don't know why our hand software refused to let me put in anybody else's name, but anytime I tried to put in someone else's name, it would just crash. I don't know why. Don't ask me why.
Alrighty. So we have the
Oh, here
hand
we
up
are.
now. So Ben is dealt King 10 of diamonds. And under the gun raises to 210. I actually have not prepped myself for this podcast, so I'm gonna be doing this live.
I mean,
mean,
okay. So why don't you let Ben take us through the pre-flop action? There's an echo right now, by the way.
Yeah, turn the.
Weird.
Bryce, do you have external sound on?
I know. I don't think so. No, it's coming through my headphones. I turned the sound of this on, but hopefully it'll be fine.
You're the only one without an echo, so it has to be you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, I hear you with an echo, Ryan.
No, that's what I'm saying. The only person we hear without an echo is Bryce, so it has to be Bryce.
Okay, well, I'll fix it. But
Anyway.
you talk about your hand for now.
Walk us through the pre-flop. Ben, you muted
You're
yourself.
on mute. All right.
There are technical difficulties.
Yeah, all right.
All right, so this is a 3-6 cent, 9-handed, under the gun, opens with 210. He's got about $70 behind. Middle position calls, button raises to 6-3, and hero, which is in the small blind, king 10 of diamonds, just calls.
Do you know who the villain is in this hand?
I wrote it down, but I don't know where it is right now.
Because I hate his sizing. Let me just say I mean, depends on who it is, but it looks so strong to me. But even if he does have like a really strong hand, it's weird. He went 3x when there's already 2 callers from your raise. Like you gotta go like 5x plus there.
Right,
But-
and especially considering the fact he's starting the hand with less than 100 big blinds. So and
obviously
especially with this
focus
sort of
on
action,
off
if he
there.
has any super premium hand, now's the time to 3-bet big and hope someone shoves over the top.
Exactly. All right, so let's see a flop. Alrighty, not a bad flop for you.
That'll do.
4 or 5 jack of diamonds. So what are you thinking to do here?
So this is my question. You know, whenever you flop pretty much close to the nuts or the nuts of the flop in early position, do you want to throw a little bet out there, see what bites you get, anything like that? And so I like to check, and then it checks around. So
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know if that's a good thing. I guess it's kind of.
It's hard. I think I would elect to bet small here because I think you can get a call from a jack. I think you can even get a call from a queen of diamonds who, if you bet small, can get a call later.
But this is my thinking. Okay, so if button raises to $7,
Wait, it actually looks like you bet 15 here.
that's probably on not the flop. That's
That's on the flop. The flop had $25 in it. You bet 15.
Yeah, you did lead for 15. So did he lead 15 into 10 or 15 into 25?
Oh no, I'm sorry. That is on the turn. He did. He led 15.
I inputted it incorrectly.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's all good.
Yikes.
But
Okay.
yeah. So there's
what is the
27 in the
turn card?
pot. There's 27 in the pot right now. Checks around. Turn is the ace of spades.
What the heck? Why is it showing queen of clubs?
Yeah, that
Ryan,
comes
what
on the
did you
river.
do?
Do you have the wrong hand?
I
No,
don't
that
have
comes
the
on the
wrong
river.
hand. There's no way. You inputted it wrong, you knew.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously
I guess
you
it
won this
did.
hand. So what was the turn card?
So turn card is the ace of spades.
Okay, so he turned top
Why is
pair
that-
and decides to raise you.
Exactly. Yeah.
That makes me like your check on the flop. I mean, you trapped him. And
Yeah.
he probably folds flop if you bet. I mean, unless you bet like a fourth pot.
Yeah,
Like-
but I mean, I don't know what hands are calling unless he does have a pocket pair, maybe with a diamond. But
Yeah.
I block. I mean, he doesn't have ace king of diamonds, doesn't have ace 10, doesn't have ace jack.
Yeah.
King jack 10 jack. Pretty much ace queen of diamonds or ace rag of
Yeah,
diamonds.
exactly.
Right. So I think that's part of the reason why you could have bet small on the flop 4 ways is
Mhm.
because it's pretty likely that somebody out there has maybe one of those hands like ace rag that they're flatting with. Especially one of the super deep people could be flatting with a hand that might possess a diamond. But yeah, I think as played, you got the money in the right spots, obviously.
Yeah.
And by
yeah.
checking there, you got a lot of value. Whereas he probably wouldn't have with that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm
So
sorry,
let him
this
see a
hand
card.
ended up all weird. I don't know why the queen of clubs is
I
just
don't
floating
know.
in midair. I don't know why
But-
that happened.
Yeah, I mean,
Kinda
I
could've
don't
been, right?
I don't hate how you play it.
No.
Obviously you got great value, and I think if you bet flop and if you bet a third pot plus, I'm assuming he folds. If you bet like a fourth a pot, I could see him calling. I don't know why he raised turn. I think that's a horrible move. But,
Yeah, I mean, he has
you
no
go
diamonds. I
off.
don't know.
I'm so
Yeah.
curious as to who this was. I'd love to know who this was for the
I can,
future, so I can
yeah,
know how to
yeah,
play
yeah.
against them.
I got you. I'll write it down. I know who the next person is though.
All right. Oh, who's the next person?
So somebody that we know.
I want it to be like me. Am I in this hand?
No. This one is Fog.
Oh, alrighty. Interesting.
Oh, nice.
This will be fun.
Yeah.
So Bad Beat Bryce, just to reiterate, is not me. It is Ben Franks, and he wakes up with 9s and under the gun 1, raises to 180. I mean, pretty fine. I like to
Probably
go a
could've
little
went a little
bigger
bigger
because I'm a
there. I
fish.
mean,
I go
Yeah,
like
it's fine.
210,
I think
even
you
240.
can mix it up.
But yeah, obviously you
Nothing
don't
wrong
want to
with
use the
going
same sizing.
small.
right.
And you get raised to 720 from Fog, I'm assuming, or is Fog the?
Fog should be in the big blind.
Okay, so
who
Fog
raised it,
raises,
yeah.
you call, and Seat 9 calls as well. So yeah, standard. Opening size fine. Obviously, you're calling.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So, I mean, obviously, big blind's going for a squeeze there. I think maybe they're trying to isolate 3 ways, trying to isolate you. I don't
Yeah,
really
maybe
know because
take
that
the pot
sizing
down.
is
But I mean,
It
it's,
did not
what
work.
is that?
I don't know what it. I mean, it does say something about their range, I guess, that they're trying to squeeze here.
So Fog leads for 885 on a board of 535 rainbow. What are you putting him on here? Obviously, he still has a pretty wide range.
Yeah, I mean, he could have 10s plus. So obviously, I'm not going to raise here. Can't really fold. Got to overpair to the board. Any 9 comes. Probably got the nuts. I don't see him having a 5. I mean, maybe seat 9 has like 8-5 or ace 5. I mean, excuse me.
He
But
could have ace 5 suited here, but
Why would it bet?
I actually don't think him specifically would look to raise this against you, especially in the big blind.
Right,
I like that
exactly.
raise way more out of position, and if you are gonna do it, in position. Sorry, if you're gonna do it out of position, I'd elect to raise bigger. And his range wasn't huge. So yeah, I'm putting him on the ace king, ace queen, king queen, 9s, 10s plus.
some sort of decent premium.
You have 9s, so 10s,
Yeah,
you know what I
exactly.
mean.
10s
But you're never folding here, and I don't see any point in raising because if he calls, he has you beat, and ace king just fold. So
Exactly.
I like the call.
Right.
Turns Jack, and Fog decides to lead for 17.
Yeah.
So he's leading again. Obviously a little scary. I want to hear your logic, but my logic here so far is he could still have the ace queen of spades, ace king of spades,
Exactly.
king queen, queen jack, 10s, jacks. I don't think he leads jacks here unless he's just a maniac. But
exactly.
What kind of range are you putting him on?
Yeah, pretty much same thing. I feel like I pretty much have to call here, reevaluate on the river, hope to spike a 9. If he has ace king, hopefully he checks, and I'll just check back the river.
Yeah, so I like your logic in thinking you're going
I
to
agree.
check back river because in your hand history write-up, you say you tank call. Like, you put tank in like quotation though. So is that basically you're never folding turn here?
Well, just because it's online. I mean,
It's all
okay,
relative.
fair.
A tank is only 20 seconds for us.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm never
As much as you
folding
tank.
to this.
Right?
bet.
No. It's never. I'm probably never folding unless it's somebody who I know is gonna have me beat.
Yeah. So he
But I
throws
can
in the
see
call.
Yeah. I throw in a call just to reevaluate the river, boat up on the river. Obviously,
Yeah.
but he can still
It's a
have.
fantastic river card for you.
Exactly.
Obviously, because here's the thing: is like now, I guess, to the degree that a lot of his bluffing hands shouldn't bet now. You know what I'm saying? Like ace king shouldn't bet now, king queen shouldn't bet now.
Right.
I think obviously jacks are probably betting. It's weird.
The only bad thing is
His pocket pairs he's been repping.
He can't rep a 5.
Yeah,
as
he can't
credibly.
rep a 5.
I mean, obviously,
It's hard to put someone
Fog
with
like
quads.
rarely has a 5 here now.
Yeah.
But you can't really like raise here ever. I mean, I don't
No.
think you should be raising here a high frequency of the time at
No,
all.
no.
But a tiny percentage of the time, I might look to just put max pressure on hands. If we think he has 10s or even 8s,
Right.
I think if you raise huge on the river, obviously I wouldn't be looking to do that much of the time at all, but I like to mix it up a little
Right.
bit. So he elects to check, and you make the quick check back. I think this is a pretty obvious check spot here. I don't think you get value from anything other than eights. And
Yeah. The only thing that calls me is going to be
sevens.
beating me, or
Unless he
raising
has
me.
ace three, which is really weird. Why the hell would he bet turn?
No,
Unless he's putting you on another three, but that's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
I-
betting
I-
flop and turn with it. I mean, mate. Yeah, no.
This hand
Yeah.
also makes a lot of sense looking at it now and seeing the way that he played it. Like he was trying to 3-bet to isolate pre-flop with this kind of like marginal mixed flex
Yeah,
hand. Like
yeah.
queen jack suited specifically makes it a little bit stronger, but it is queen
no.
jack.
I don't
Especially
mind
from
his
from
line
his
at all.
line.
I don't mind his line at all. I think it makes a lot of sense looking
I
back. what
raise
hand he had, 'cause I didn't
pre-flop
see
just
it.
a little bigger because you both
Yes.
are kind of deep. But
Yes.
other than raising pre-flop bigger, I like his line. I think I would bet river.
I
don't
think
know
I'm
why he
betting
didn't
river
bet
too.
river. I would bet river probably a third pot.
Well, because here's the
'Cause-
thing: is the next question I have for you, Ben, is if he bets, and even if he bets small, like a third pot, how are you reacting to that? Are you going to call here with nines?
I'm probably folding honestly because obviously I got re-raised pre-flop, let out pretty big on the flop, check turn, which is kind of weird, but maybe wants me to take a stab at it or let me catch up.
Ace king can't bluff here, and he doesn't have a five. So I agree. I like that you would fold there. I think that's the correct
I
decision.
think that's the right thought process as well.
And obviously ace king will probably check. And I didn't expect him to have a jack when he checked.
Yeah, when he
Yeah.
checks, I never expected him a jack. I expected him to be semi-bluffing with it. Well, not really.
Yeah.
So he
Like,
had an ace king or like ace queen of spades or something of that nature.
I guess I know I've seen him check when he basically has the nuts, like because he assumes the other person has the nuts, and I've seen him miss value just because he assumes they're way stronger than they are. So I'm assuming he puts you on a five or a jack here, because I don't think he'd think you'd call with a three.
Well, yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. I mean, still, if I have the jack here leading out that strong, because I checked back the turn too. So
Yeah, I think he missed a bet.
yeah.
Yeah, great
Only thing that I would check back on the turn with is probably a five, but I'm probably betting that anyway, just because the flush draw gets there, overcard. I mean,
Exactly. But I mean, I think you played it fine. I think both
I agree.
these hands are fairly straightforward. But yeah, do you have anything you wanna tell the fans? I guess my last question is how do you deal with tilts, and how have you seen the differences between online and live play? Because obviously during quarantine
Yeah,
you've been
tilt's
playing
different.
a ton.
So yeah. I think I get way more tilted via online. Just
agree.
I don't even know why. It's
Yeah.
just I really
yeah.
don't get tilted live, honestly.
I curse
mean-
a lot more. I mean, obviously I'm in the comfort of my home, but I'll just be dropping the F-bomb, just raging.
Running around the house.
Yeah.
And a lot of
you've
the times
seen
I'll
it.
get I get tilted just because you only have is it 20 seconds or 30 seconds?
Yeah, it's like 20.
It's 25, I believe.
25 seconds, which is more than enough time, but sometimes there's spots where it's like,
Oh, you just want an extra minute to think.
I need to buy you
Yeah,
some
yeah.
time banks. There's been some times I've used, like, I think the max is 3 time banks, and I've used every single one. I'm just like, ugh, I don't know what to do.
I didn't know there was one.
Yeah, you can buy them for like a few dollars, but I highly recommend, especially when we play 1-2. Obviously,
Yeah, well, I was
360.
gonna say maybe I'll use
But,
those for the 1-2 game, but not
yeah.
the 360. This
Yeah.
is normally pretty standard.
Exactly.
Some of the people play face
I don't know
up.
about standard. I actually think the
Yeah.
30-60 game plays way more psycho than the 1-2.
It's
game.
wild.
I
It's
think
a
people
lot of
tighten
fun.
up in the 1-2 game.
Yeah,
not
I
an
think
insane
people-
amount. It's still a
people-
juicy
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
but
Mhm.
People flat super wide in 30-60. Especially if you open from early position in like the big game 9-handed, you can expect to get like 3 callers and then get 3-bet huge. It's a fun game.
Yeah, a lot of the V pip for like half the players is like
50
40,
plus.
yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
it's
literally,
insanity.
It's crazy.
So
They don't call me
so if
Ryan the
that's
Rock
why if
for
there's a
nothing.
5-5 on the board. I mean, I don't expect Fog to have a 5, but I can't remember who seat 9 was, but
Yeah,
they can have honestly anything in the
Exactly.
so.
but that's fair. Well, definitely appreciate you taking your time out of your night to come on the podcast, Ben. Look
Right,
forward
man, I
to mixing it
appreciate
up with you later, whether it be today or later this week.
Oh, I'll be on the tables. I'll be on the tables tonight. Don't you worry.
All right,
Ooh-wee.
I will see you at 8 then. Thank you very much for coming on, Ben.
Hey man,
Bye,
I
Ben.
appreciate it.
All right, I'll see you. Alrighty, so we have 2 more hands for you guys. We're gonna do Ryan's hand first, and then we're gonna do.
We're showing them backstage. Look.
We are showing them backstage, but I don't think unless they saw that very quickly, they would not have seen
Google
it.
Drive.
Glad I don't have anything crazy up on my tabs.
Good.
Right.
Awesome.
I love these quotes.
3 ways to play blackjacks, and they're all wrong. Never have truer words been spoken.
Alrighty.
All right, so I wake up with pocket nines
again.
under the gun,
Of
and
course
shockingly,
you do.
Ben and I choose the same exact raise sizing.
I raise bigger. You guys are freaking nits over here.
You know what's funny is that I think honestly it's funny because I think the last 2 or 3 hands we reviewed of mine, I raised small pre. I shouldn't do that
yelled
anymore.
at you for this, especially. I dislike it less when there's only 6 players, but 9-handed, especially like early
especially
position,
9-handed.
so many people are gonna call you. I'm gonna call you with 3-4 clubs, knowing
Yep.
everyone behind me is gonna call.
Yeah, everyone's
So,
just gonna
like,
want to see a flop. I also think it's interesting just because if you look at the stack sizes, like JTB has $32, What's the Deal has $20. I'm pretty sure seat 5 was super deep and seat 4 was all right.
The thing
Yeah,
is,
it was kind of a
people
weird
are
table.
shoving like ace 10 like for $20. So like if
Yeah,
you
especially
raise
at
bigger,
this
they might
type of a table.
bluff raise. Yeah, so I like raising bigger.
Yeah, that's
but,
fair,
You know,
that's fair.
I'll
No, you're
I'll
not
get
wrong.
off here.
You're not wrong.
So how many callers we got? I'm sure JTB calls. Tuna
Flats
Joe
from the
calls.
button.
All right.
fine.
I mean, fat stack. He's probably calling pretty late there.
Yes,
And
I agree.
Flop comes. Deuce 6-6. Okay. Pretty dry flop. Obviously, there's the flush shot out there, but you elect to lead for 390. And what are you thinking for that sizing there?
Yeah, I think I'm getting called by 2 spades here. I think I'm getting called by 2 overs a lot of the time. I think Ace King is incentivized to see another street. Ace King containing even 1 spade is probably seeing another
The
street.
fact that you think any of them could have Ace King here is ridiculous.
Well, okay, no, I'm sorry. That's true. That's true. I don't know why I'm saying that. They do cap their range by flatting. So I'm thinking a lot of there are some combinations that contain 2 spades, not that strong, but like the Jack 10s, what have you, 10-9, even, all the way down to like 7-8, But there's a lot of spade combinations that are going to call here. I assume at least one person here has
here, are you
deuce.
raising?
No, I really struggle with these sort of flops, and I think I struggle with them more when they come out monotone because they're just kind of weird to play on. And you'll see, because if you push play, somebody raises.
Yeah, so I want to, before we say that, I think that if I have, if I'm in late position and there's only one person who bets, I look to call. If there are multiple people who call, I would raise with 6. So I would look to raise turn because it's more disguised.
Okay.
But obviously I mix it up and I never do the same thing 100% of the
Right,
time.
right,
but
right.
That's just personally how I would play it. So it sounds like a raise is coming. Tuna Joe raises to 780 and folds back to you. So
Yes.
I'm assuming you flat here, but
flat.
What is your logic in flatting?
I don't really know what my logic is in flatting, is there? It's, I don't think I can I don't think I can 3-bet this hand. Because if he shoves on me, it's just gross. I don't know, like if he just keeps putting in more money.
I mean, he's so deep, so I
He's
see him
so deep.
probably putting in
and
a
so
huge
am I. We're the
4-bet.
2 deepest people at the table.
You don't want to get money, and I think you're flatting here 100%.
I agree.
Of the time.
That's
I don't
right.
think there's
And
too much thought
Also,
into it.
I don't understand why, if we're so deep, he's min raising me here.
Oh yeah, I didn't actually
is a
see that it was a
min
min
raise.
raise. I
Yeah.
hate that play.
Right.
Unless he has, I don't know, pocket deuces. Like that's the only hand I would consider min raising with, because he targets your overpair, which isn't gonna fold, and then also your 6 potentially. But like a min raise, like I just hate min raising, and I'm
Right.
pretty confident he's not gonna watch this, so his feelings aren't gonna.
I'm
get
at the
hurt.
very least
But,
calling, when you're raising
I hate
that small.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't even notice that. That's huge. Thank you for pointing that out.
Right. I
both,
would have called,
Ben.
and just to be honest with you, I would have called the bigger sizing as well.
So yeah, feel free to comment, by the way, guys. So
that a
the
win rate?
medium
Yes,
we
please.
use, we can post it. So that's cool. Thank you, Ben. All right, so let's look to see what the turn is. The anticipation is killing
Anticipation.
me. All right, turn's the king. Pretty horrible call for you, or card for you.
Well, that's the funny part is I don't think so.
Oh.
And here's my reasoning why. I'm thinking right now, if he's flatting pre-flop in the small blind against an under the gun open and with a dealer call, if he had a hand that contained a king and he's playing off of a $354 stack,
King
in a
jack
game at the-
off. King jack off.
I'm
King 10
raising.
suited. You're raising
No, I'm
king
not
jack
raising king jack
off,
off. That's probably
from
fair.
the small blind, from
That's
a nitty
fair.
player raising, our Paul raising under the gun You're gonna raise. You really telling me you're gonna raise that?
Get out of here. Well, yeah, okay. So he does have some kings. That's fair. He has king 10.
Even
He has king
Jack
jack.
suited, sometimes in position 3-bet, but against you, no chance.
That's
and
fair.
I think he plays pretty tight too. I think he could obviously flat with king jack suited, king 10 suited. It doesn't even have to be spades. I think it would be
Yeah.
spades when he's raising here, but I think a king's a bad card for you. Obviously, a spade's the worst card in the deck, and an ace is worse too. But I think
I think it's funny because
obviously
at the moment
range.
that's the thought process that I went through. At the moment, that was the thought process I went through. That I was
Yeah.
like, him flatting from the small blind, I thought told me a lot about his hand, and I think the min raise on the flop on a board like this did not signal strength.
That's
to me.
fair. It didn't signal strength. So what do you think he has? What do you think he's bluff raising here? Do you think he has spades? Do you think he has
Right.
Or do you
That's
think
the
he's
thing
just
is
full
like,
of
you know,
crap?
what does raise there? What semi bluffs there on that flop? And I agree with you now looking back that a king makes a lot of sense for something that's raising on that flop and then hits that turn. That like doesn't believe you on the flop.
I
and
forgot that we
smash
were.
that
I think
turn
we were
card.
on call during this hand.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And you
so
told, yeah, we'll get there.
no, I tell you. So it comes a 4, and at first, okay, I need to show the action what he does. Okay, why is this going so
Thinking.
slowly? So
There it
he
is.
bets 1470,
Right.
and not a huge bet. So
No.
initially, I'm like, what the hell? Like the spade got there. If he has a 6, you're dead. If he has a king, you're dead. Like it's not looking good.
Things are not looking good.
Yeah, so we were talking about this, and at first I'm like, looks like a fold, but then I'm like, if the spades get there, why would he bet so small? It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
So he
Especially
said-
again, considering the stack sizes and how
I
much
think,
money did not go into this pot.
exactly,
This pot is 25% smaller than it should be at this point. So when he
I
bets
agree.
1470 into this, and I have so much back, I think I'm
I-
even more incentivized to bluff catch with nines
I
here.
agree. I think you bluff catch 90+% of the time.
Right, for this
So Ben goes
sizing in
king
this
X min
pot,
raising.
it's so crazy. I'm getting fabulous odds to call here.
I agree. So I do like a call. So in response to his question, I think the only thing that makes sense to raise is the king jack, king 10 of spades.
Right.
I don't really see any other hand that should be min raising here, and still I don't think king 10 should min raise. The only time I ever min raise is on the river, ever, and that's against players who just can't fold. So like against the CJ,
Yeah, those
I'll just
pots are
min
usually
raise
big
him
at that
knowing
point. Right.
knowing he's gonna call me, because if I jam, I think he finds a fold most of the
Right.
time. But min raise, he just never folds to a min raise, and I get value so often. So anyways, you toss in the call, and you are correct.
Winner.
The good old deuce 5 offsuit.
Good old deuce 5.
Flatting with a $360 stack. I don't know why he min raised. What does he think is calling? Like, do you
Yeah.
think even if you're raising with ace queen, ace jack, any ace, you're gonna call a min raise? And then how does he bet? Like, why is he betting so small on river that calls flop? If he's putting you on a flush draw, you got there. If he's putting, like, the only thing that folds is like ace queen, ace jack, ace 10.
Right.
But
right.
like,
or a hand like nines if it's played differently. If he had not min raised me on the flop,
if
had
he
raised me
barrels river,
3x,
but
right? If he barreled turn and then barreled river big, I'm put in such a worse position where now I'm looking at like, oh my god, like of course he got there with his spades, of course his king got there, but his sizings make it so much easier for me to calm down.
yeah, so his sizing is just so bad. I think you made a good call looking back, and I think most players in this club also who hate fold and call. And I think I also call too. I mean, obviously, in the moment, I was like, what the heck? What the heck is bluffing here? And I guess deuce 5 is, but I mean, it'd be
Yeah.
like that sometimes, I guess.
It does
But,
be
I
like
mean,
that
this
sometimes.
is this is why we're in this club, and this is why we've both been profitable.
Right.
And hopefully it continues. So I didn't show you guys the backstage this time. So let's open up the next hand. So this is from a viewer. I don't remember his name. I very much apologize. So we're just playing 5NL Max online. So
Yeah, so
I-
it's 2 cent
I
5
normally-
cent, very small.
yeah, so I normally don't share these small hands too often, but I think it's an interesting spot worth evaluating, and the stakes don't matter. The thought process is typically the same. Obviously, at the higher stakes, there's a lot more bluffing, but definitely interested in showing this hand.
Right.
So
And let's
here's on
both be clear that everyone that like the two people in this hand are Paul, which is not me, and the villain are well over 120 big blinds deep each, if you think
Yeah.
about it.
So a raise to 44 cents after a limp. The wow.
It wasn't a limp. It wasn't a limp.
Or,
It was
not
a
limp,
raise
not a
to
limp.
15, I think, or a little
Yeah.
less. It was like
Yeah.
more. It was 17 cents was the raise. So then he three
Never
bets to
mind.
44.
Yeah, so
Right.
interesting. That's almost a small raise. So I'm assuming villain just flats here, but we'll see in a second.
And
So
I don't mind it.
raising 9-10
I don't mind it
from
at all.
maybe a little
yeah.
bigger based
Yeah,
on the
I would go
sizing.
a little
If
bigger.
it was 15
You're in
cents,
position.
44 is fine. I didn't see what
Yep.
the sizing was, which is bad.
Yep.
So flop comes Jack Queen Deuce. Not a bad flop for 9-10.
Great flop.
And he checks, and you elect to bet 33 cents. I don't like your sizing. You're betting a third pot, and what are you targeting is the question. I think you get value from a deuce, but if you're gonna bet 9-10, I would look to bet half pot or more.
I
and
agree.
look to continue to rep the queen, or potentially rep the flush draw depending on how he plays it. But I don't know why you're going so small here. If you get a call, I think
a
you're
big
behind.
key here. Right, I agree. I think if you get a call, you're behind number one, and I think by betting the small here, heads up in position, it looks from your sizing like you're setting the price for a draw. So if I'm
Yeah.
your opponent and I see you bet 33 cent into 90, I'm thinking that you're setting the price for a draw, like 10-9, like two diamonds.
Exactly. So villain decides to call, and the turn comes a two of hearts. I think there's a slight lag. That's why I've been pausing it. But you bet $1 into $1.61.
And you know what? The interesting thing is that he also notes here that he was setting up a river jam. And that's the problem, is that because his sizing was so small in the flop, that his betting $1 here on the turn is not setting up. I mean, I guess if a technical river jam is supposed to be an SPR of like 1-1, he a little bit is setting up a river jam that's going to be slightly more than pot. But like,
What
you know,
does he think is calling him then?
and that's the thing is
Like-
like when you say that you're prepping to shove river,
I mean
that
folding.
makes
I mean
me
folding,
think
not
that
calling.
you're like, what rivers are there rivers that you're not shoving? You know, like,
Yeah.
is this like you're just shoving anything that
You
comes
also
except
didn't
for a
mention
diamond?
like if there's no diamond. Like at this point, the only thing that is gonna fold is a jack. If you bet huge, or a diamond draw. So
Right.
if he has any,
That was
queen-
gonna
if he
fold
has-
anyway.
If he has a horrible queen, I think he just snaps you off with a
Right.
pot size bet. I mean, especially at these stakes. And personally, I don't know if I've played this low before, but when I play at very small stakes, people like to call. People don't fold. Like
Yeah.
I think King Jack,
good reason.
10
It's
Jack,
11
Ace Jack
bucks.
is calling.
Right.
I think they just don't value the money as much, and obviously this isn't true for every game. But I think as a general rule of thumb, they don't like to fold. So I don't know if I do like setting up a river shove on a board like this, especially when you don't mention if it depends on what card's coming.
Yeah.
So
And another thing is that, you know, you didn't know anything about the villain, which makes me think that you haven't played with them a lot. And I don't tend to make big bluffs against people that I haven't played with a significant amount. It's like if you don't know when he calls on that flop, if you're used to him, you've seen him, raise on flops, you've seen him check raise before. If you've seen him do more difficult stuff, then I think it makes it harder for him to bluff at. But if he plays everything super passively, and folds on rivers, that's something you can make note of and then make more of a bluff like this. But I agree with you that the stakes make it easier for him to call, and that the sizings here make it easier for him to call.
I agree. So the river comes a
Brick.
5 of spades, and I'm pretty sure hero shoves. We'll see. what
Yeah, it
happens.
goes check shove.
Wait, what do you mean it goes check shove? No, oh yes, it goes check shove. Sorry, I
Check
forgot it was on the bottom.
shove call.
No, you spoiled it. So when the 5 of spades comes out, I just, yeah, I don't like the jam.
So
What are you
wait,
putting
which
him
which
on?
rivers? What rivers would you think you would bluff here? What rivers would you bluff jam?
I
when
don't.
check to?
I don't bluff jam any rivers here. Honestly,
I don't bluff.
Is
That's the
my
thing.
answer.
That's the thing.
Um.
Because you don't block anything significant either.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like this play. On this specific board.
I agree.
And not knowing much about the villain, so I think he's going to be calling you 80+% of the time, and you're bluffing over pot-sized shove into 361 in a scenario
board
where
that's
you think
not
you're going to be
terrifying.
called the
Right.
vast majority of the time. So
Right.
that just isn't a profitable play.
Right.
I think betting flop isn't bad. I would bet bigger,
Yep.
and then I'd probably give up because on the turn, if he calls flop, what's folding turn? And you didn't even bet that big on the turn. If
Yep.
you bet pot on turn and he calls, then you can probably eliminate the flush draw and then give up on river. But why set up a river shove if he calls turn? I just don't see him calling turn to fold river,
And
especially
especially
to this
on a
river.
board right here, where like even if villain's calling down with a jack, this is a clean river. This is a clean river. I if I had a jack and I was calling the turn and saying, crap, I hope a diamond doesn't get there. Crap, I hope, a king doesn't roll off on the river and a 5 rolls off on the river, and a shove for $4, I'm calling.
Yeah. I don't like the play, but I mean, I
got
like
heart.
bluffing.
You have to have heart. There's nothing.
You have to have heart. Yeah, I
right.
respect it. I
Right.
feel like
I
I've been pretty
respect the play.
harsh on this, but
Right.
I feel like just
There's
looking
nothing
back,
wrong with doing this.
And you
That's the
messaged
thing.
me. So let's. I don't think I've revealed his specific hole cards. So he
That's
mentioned that the villain had the ace of diamonds in his hand.
Correct.
So once you're betting, that actually makes it harder for him to call because he wants you to have the ace of diamonds in his hand. But at the same time, he has ace queen. He's not folding ace queen.
Right.
And also at these stakes. So I mean, it helps that he had the ace of diamonds. Like you got lucky, but also, I mean,
That's the
ace
thing is
queen's
like
pretty high in his
what
range.
hand is your opponent supposed to put you on here?
Also, like when you bet flop, you raised him, so his calling range contains a ton of jacks and queens.
Yep.
We didn't even mention that, which is huge.
Right.
So I just this whole hand, I just don't think this was a spot to bluff. And I think in your message to me, you mentioned how you didn't think it was a great bluff, but I mean, lesson learned. I think you should.
I think this is one of
continue
those
to
hands-
reevaluate your hands.
Yeah, this is one of those hands that like we've all done this in our poker careers where you make it to the end of one hand and you're thinking about making a bluff and you have a second thought about it and then you still do it. I think this is one of those spots where you're like,
I did that
I
the
can
other
get him
night.
off with something. Right, it
Against
happens.
a
It
tight
totally
player
happens.
in 1-2, I triple barrel bluffed on an ace high board, and I figured he would 4-bet me with ace king, and he didn't.
Yeah.
And I lost a couple $100. It was a bad
Right.
play. And I've bluffed with 0 equity before. You had equity on the flop, so I just don't
Yeah.
think that this was the spot. I think you can pick your bluff spots better, but I mean, I
That's
like
the thing
the
is,
heart.
I think one more thing about this is that some people get really concerned specifically on rivers, like this one when checked to, and SPR isn't big here. The problem is, should he check back? And yes, I think this you should have given up. You should have given up after the flop. But you continued on turn. This isn't the river to continue on. This is
agree.
the one to check back. Like there are rivers that you can bluff here, but this isn't the one.
I 100% agree. So do you have any closing thoughts on the podcast before I close it out?
Our production value continues to shoot up. I've enjoyed having our guests on this week. Next week is the biggest week of the podcast in my very
So
personal
far,
professional opinion. So far, we're off to good things, and maybe next week we'll have a jingle too. We'll work on that.
We're having Kayla, aka Wino Poker, on, so very much looking
So
forward
excited.
to that. Talk about her live at the bike, talk about her favorite wines, and just get into it. She had another bink last night for, I believe, $5,000.
Good for
so she's been
She's been
crushing
killing
Poker
it.
Bros.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, so looking forward to that. I appreciate everyone tuning in, and we will see you next week at 7 p.m. Enjoy your week.
Bye, guys.
See ya.